If I could please get everybody's attention, we'll go ahead and open up tonight's legislative session at 5:31 p.m. Move us into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States Republic, which is stands. All right, thank you, everyone. I'm just going to remind the council about our shared beliefs of being open and honest this evening. And that'll move us right in a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Do we have Mayor Bowman here?
Present.
Davin Perry?
Present.
Cassandra Quesnell? Carrie Bro?
Present.
Bill Campbell?
Present.
Jesse Camacho?
Present.
And Jennifer Morton?
Present.
And let the record show that we have the following staff in attendance: City Manager Albert Tripp, City Attorney Daniel Gibbons, City Attorney Kim Camel, Finance Director Tara Moses, Public Works Director Catherine Miller, Planning Director Heather Troutman, Associate Planner Zachary Becker, and Zan Supita.
All right, thank you. Any word from? All right, council, what would we like to do about the absence of Sandra Quesnell?
Move to approve absence.
Motion, do I have a second? I have a second. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. Move us on to tonight's agenda approval. There is one little minor change. We are going to move action item 10B to after an executive session. And as far anything other than that, Mr. Tripp?
Sorry, there isn't.
Okay.
Just a clarification for the council retreat. Will that be discussed in the executive session, or should that be an agenda item?
I was actually going to bring it up during the staff report.
Okay.
And see if there's a consensus amongst the council on which of the options.
Okay.
All right. So with those changes, council, what would we like to do?
Move to approve.
A motion, do I have a second? All right. Macho, any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that also passed unanimously. All right, for tonight's announcements and presentations, the first one is going to be a presentation from the Department of Commerce. And Miss Melissa, I am not going to butcher your last name, but the floor is absolutely yours, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to come present today. I had actually I planned to come in person. I'm just over in Spokane, but I'm battling a pretty bad cold, so I didn't want to subject you all to that. But I will go ahead and share my presentation. And I won't be able to see the screen, so please do let me know if there are any questions. Yeah, very, very happy to be here with you today. My name is Melissa Olofaituli. I'm a senior planner in the Growth Management Services Unit at the Department of Commerce. I am based on the Eastern Regional Team, so right over in Spokane. And in my role, I provide technical assistance to jurisdictions in Spokane, Whitman, and Adams counties. And I really appreciate the opportunity to present today and to share about the housing allocation requirements for updates to comprehensive plan housing elements. With that, I'm pleased to introduce our agency. At the Department of Commerce, we touch on all aspects of community and economic development in the state, including planning and technical assistance, which is on the lower left of this screen here. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to reach out. All right, so before I get into...
Melissa, can you hang on for just 1 second?
Sure.
You don't see your presentation. Do we need to allow screen sharing or something along those lines?
Let's see. do you see it now?
We got it now. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay. I think
Yeah,
it
we
was
got
my
it now.
fault. I'm very sorry about that. Um, let's see if it'll let me. Okay, so that was the slide that I was talking about, all that Commerce does. And then, so before I get into the housing allocation process, I did want to touch a little bit on House Bill 1220, which was adopted in 2021 and introduced some significant new requirements into housing element updates. So, like I said, it was adopted in 2021 and it strengthened housing planning. It changed the GMA housing goal related to affordable housing from a more kind of softer encourage affordable housing to plan for and accommodate housing affordable to all economic segments. It directed Commerce to project future housing needs by income bracket. And that's where we developed the HAPT tool, which I'll be giving you a kind of quick overview on. And then it directed communities to strengthen housing elements and how they accommodate housing, including, and I'm just going to read through here, but the bold items are new. Identify local housing needs based on Commerce's countywide numbers. Include goals and policies for moderate density housing options. Identify sufficient land capacity for all housing needs. Make adequate provisions for all economic segments, including documenting barriers and actions needed to achieve housing availability, and identify and begin to undo racially disparate impacts, exclusion, and displacement. So before, since the GMA, the Growth Management Act, was adopted in 1990, communities that plan under the GMA have always been required to plan for and ensure there's sufficient capacity for future growth, for 20-year growth projections. But previously, um, you could do that however you wanted. It could be all single family houses, it could be all apartments, it could be a mix of the two. But now with these new requirements, it's looking at different income levels, not just overall numbers. So that's a big change. So one of the requirements is identifying sufficient land capacity for all housing needs. The minimum requirements here that we're looking for at a state level is to make sure each jurisdiction presents a table of allocated housing needs by income level, that they relate each type of housing need to housing types that can reasonably accommodate those needs. We want them to show that there is enough capacity to meet housing needs at all income levels. And then if there is insufficient capacity for any type of housing need, the jurisdiction must identify and implement zoning changes that provide enough capacity by the periodic deadline, which for us in Spokane County is December 31st of this year. Okay, so that's kind of the high level, some of the new requirements. But I was specifically asked by Heather to talk tonight about the allocating growth process. So just to go over the basic steps, local governments select a 20-year countywide growth projection number from within the Office of Financial Management's range. They provide a low, medium, high, and you just have to pick a number from within that range. We typically encourage you to look at the medium number first because it tends to be pretty spot on, but there are definitely reasons why you might want to pick something lower or higher. And then local governments plug that number, that countywide number, into the HAPT spreadsheet. That's the Housing for All Planning Tool spreadsheet that was developed by Commerce. And HAPT will tell you the countywide housing need targets. Overall, the total number of housing units needed, and by income level. And then local governments work together to allocate housing targets to all jurisdictions. This is a local decision. No one method is mandated by Commerce or the state. You could use a method provided in the HAPT tool. We have a few methods, or you could agree on another method. But the important thing to keep in mind is that the allocations from each jurisdiction and from the county add up to that countywide number. that was noted in step 2 above. And I'll kind of show you some screenshots from the HAPT tool. So when you open up the HAP tool, and you can go on our website and download it and play around with it if you want, if you're, if it's a rainy weekend day, you go in there and there's a tab at the bottom that says County Projections Start Here. So you click on that tab, and the first step is you plug in the county. So for us, that's Spokane County. And then you pick your projection year, which for us is the 2026 cycle periodic update county. We would pick 2046. And then it pulls up the low, medium, and high numbers provided by the Office of Financial Management. And so, like I said, Spokane County, actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, Spokane County did select the medium projection. So you would take that medium number, the 654,665, and plug it into step 3 here. And then the tool spits out the total housing need for the county. Both the total number there, it's kind of highlighted in gray. The total number is 75,184 units. And then it's also broken down by income level. And then it's up to local jurisdictions working together to determine how to allocate that between all of the cities and the county, the rural county and the unincorporated urban growth areas. And so this is kind of just a zoomed out picture screenshot of the HAP tool. So you can see the county projections start here tab at the bottom. And these are the same numbers up above. And you can also see that there's a few allocation methods, A, B, and C, and method and a rural sub-allocation. But these are all just options. They're kind of a tool that can help guide the discussion. And so Spokane County, through the steering committee of elected officials and the PTAC that supports it, the Planning Technical Advisory Group, they determined or they recommended to the county how to best allocate those numbers between the jurisdictions. And they landed on allocating based on past growth through permit history and whatnot. So just sort of a continuation of past growth. And that's how it was divided up in Spokane County. And this is the allocation method C with the numbers provided, or at the local level, those allocation numbers as a share of total growth. And you can see for each city and the unincorporated county, it gives you the total units, the total housing need, and then divides that up by income band. And those are the numbers that you'll be planning for and making sure that you have sufficient capacity for. And I will note this part that's in a red box. Earlier on in the process, our guidance from Commerce had said to input the population share. And as we were working through it on this updated method C, we changed it. We corrected that to show housing share. So at one point, the local planners did, through the PTAC and the steering committee, did make a recommendation to change from inputting the population share to housing share, and that did change the numbers a bit. But again, this is all, these are all decisions made at the local level. It's not mandated by the state how you allocate those numbers. But we were in close communication with the planners throughout this process. So I kind of zoomed in on it here, how it says the countywide housing, percentage share of countywide housing growth. And it must add up to 100%. So this tool, this HAPT tool, provides possible options for local governments. It's intended to support allocation decisions. These are new requirements, they're complex requirements. And so it's intended to be kind of a starting point for discussion or a helpful tool, but not a mandate. the requirement really is that whichever allocation method is used, the numbers must collectively add up to the countywide housing need numbers in HAPT. And I would also add every plan in Spokane County needs to be working off of the same set of numbers. And so that's what we'll be looking for. We have a lot of resources. We do have, so I'm on the regional planning team in growth management services. We also have a housing policy team and a climate policy team with a lot of resources. So if you have questions about anything, we are here to support you in the work you're doing. And I just would note that I've been honored to work with Heather and Zach in this process. They've been great resources for me as well. So I really appreciate all the work that you're doing in Airway Heights. And with that, there's my information. I'm your local regional planner here at Commerce. And then Laura Hodgson is our housing planning and data manager. She's also a great resource. So if you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out. And with that, I will stop sharing if I can figure out how. There we go. And I am available for questions.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, all right. Well, that'll move us into the
Thank you, Melissa.
or thank you, Melissa. Yeah. Appreciate you giving the presentation. But with that, we'll go ahead and move to the next presentation. And I know that this one was supposed to be a presentation with Elizabeth Tillison or with Winston and chat with Bud. They are not in attendance as far as I'm aware, correct? So
You're correct. The invitation was extended to Ms. Tellison and also Mr. Frank to be here to share summation of a letter the council received, but neither of the two are able to join the council this evening.
right. Well, with that, we've had these presentations a few times ourselves, in coming up with these numbers. Would you like to, say anything, Ms. Troutman, on this, or should we just move past? Okay. All right. Well, that'll be tabled for the minute, and that'll move us on to item 6, council reports.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a little bit of background information and some things that transpired Wednesday at the STA workshop. Principally, the workshop was designed to help the STA board get ready to mount a ballot issue in August that would be for the purpose of extending the existing 0.2% sales tax dedicated to transit. And I went into that meeting thinking we were going to wrap this up, and I could not have been more wrong. As it turns out, earlier that morning, apparently there was a meeting of the Safe and Healthy Spokane Task Force, and they apparently are eyeing a similar process of trying to put a ballot measure together for the fall, I guess, to fund whatever it is that the task force is working on. So that kind of threw the entire process into a tizzy. There were people on the board participating in the workshop that seemed to know more about this other event than most of the rest of us did, which left us in the dark quite a bit. But what I would like to do this evening is, and I don't know if it's practical to do it here, I would like to get a sense of what this body thinks about transit extending at 0.2% sales tax. Basically, that would be to maintain and expand and increase service options and move forward on our Connect 2035 plan. And there's a lot of, I think, good reasons why that should happen. One is to preserve and enable the STA to continue to get grant money for projects that are already on the books, but also to maintain the service level and fulfill the commitments that were made to the public when the 2035 plan was launched. There was a lot of discussion about that. The next step is for the operations board to take this matter up this week, Wednesday, to try to figure out what they want to do moving forward. And then I think the final action point is going to be for the whole board to take it up at the next board meeting later this month. We have to decide this month if they're going to get it on the August ballot, and that was the original intent. So I don't know if anybody else has any feedback for me to pass along, or just anyway, I'd just like to make you aware that that's what's going on.
Well, with that, I think that we should actually have a conversation about it. Put it on the agenda, allow for the public to have, input and comment on it. And then, us just communicating discussions, not having the information in front of us and whatnot, we couldn't make, I don't think, the best informed decision on which way to direct you to go, as a voice of the city. So yeah, let's get it on the agenda to see, kind of more of the information and allow for public comment or, at least input. And
That's good. Thank you.
absolutely. Anything, Jen?
Yeah, hey, Bill, where can we obtain this information? I mean, is it readily available or?
Quite a bit of it is available on the STA's website.
Okay.
Look for the Connect 2035 tab. That should tell you everything you need.
All right, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, Albert, if we could get that on the agenda for. Yeah. Will that work, Bill? Okay. All right. Anything else? No. Well, my family and I are extremely happy about something. Our daughter was a lilac princess a few years back, and it is huge. And I just want to congratulate Miss Hayden on becoming Spokane Queen. And she is a representative from Cheney High School. So she is our very own. So I'm super excited. We have not had a rep like that or a queen on the West Plains. And I don't know if we've ever had one. So such a huge accomplishment.
Medical Lake a few years ago. I got to give it.
Yeah, actually, no, you're right. You're right. We did. Well, was she just on court? Was she a queen? Which one? You remember?
Let me check the record first. I think it's Josephine Ortega. Check my memory.
Yeah. Josephine, that would have been, yeah, okay. So, but our family, my wife sits on the Lilac Foundation, a couple committees with them, and she was just really, really impressed by Hayden and really just excited about having a representative from the West Plains. And I mean, it's huge because Fairchild Air Force Base is in our backyard on the West Plains here. So to have a representative is absolutely incredible. So she was.
2023 queen for Medical Lake. So the West Plains, pretty good the last few years. Yeah.
Wow, because last year we had, well, I won't get into that. But yeah, we've had some really good representatives from out here as far as just on the court, but just to have somebody in the position there is insane. So that's all I had. All right, that'll move us on to staff reports.
Are there any reports from staff?
Chair and council, one of the items I wanted to follow back up on with the council is the retreat planning for Q1. During a couple of meetings ago, we talked about some date options for the council. And I promised to research some additional date options, bring those back to the retreat planning committee, which we did have a chance to discuss. So within my report, I included there's two different options that are identified there. There's an option 1 for a retreat to occur on April 27th or May 11th, or a combination of both. Each of those timeframes would be 2.5 hour block of time. So for each day, both of those days fall on a study session. And then the other second option, which would be a 6 hour block of time on any one of these days, is April 18th, April 25th, May 2nd, or May 9th. And so the committee had an opportunity to discuss those date options. It seems to be somewhat split down the middle in the sense of either option 1, which is study session nights, or option 2, which is a 6 hour block on a non-study session night on a weekend. And so wanted to bring it back to the full council to get some direction on how you'd like to proceed so we could start scheduling accordingly.
Probably on the 11th.
That's a Monday. 27th, they're all Mondays.
Well, option one is Mondays, option two is the Saturdays. So
Yeah.
I'll go. I mean, we've talked about this. I think it just needs to be a vote. I'll move for option one, the Mondays, April 27th and or May 11th.
Well, typically. Sorry, my mic wasn't on. Typically, I would love for us to actually get away and actually be able to focus on some stuff. I know it's not within the budget right now for us to actually go to Coeur d'Alene Resort or up to Sandpoint like we've done previously. So if we need to just meet and talk about the direction of the city, I'll go with Mondays as well.
Fine with me, 27th is fine.
Okay, everybody good with the 27th? Down there, Miss Morton, you good with that?
I'm with option two, but I'm outnumbered, so.
Okay, should we just bring it to a vote?
I move. I'm just the first.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second for option A? A second. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, that passes 5-1.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Staff reports. Good. All right, no call for a public hearing. The consent agenda, item C. CA1 is the approving for minutes from our March 16, 2026 council meeting. Item CA2 is the study session minutes from March 23rd, 2026. And then item CA3 is a purchase approval registry in the amount of $45,844 to Payne Hamlin. Council, what would you like to do about tonight's consent agenda?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us on to action item A for the STA MOU.
Mr. Chair and Council, by way of background, all of the small cities within the metro area, including Cheney, Liberty Lake, Medical Lake, Millwood, and Airway Heights, share a single seat within the Spokane Transit Board for voting as a voting member. These particular members recently met and were having discussions regarding how the process works for both communicating their intent relative to different issues that are advancing their way towards the boards for consideration. Councilmember Williams has been a part of a conversations with the different communities that I noted earlier in seeking to just formalize a process, a communication process that has been more ad hoc in nature. And so the proposed resolution before you seeks to outline how each of these respective parties agrees to commit amongst themselves for both receiving communication from the other cities. Secondly, how they would then vote accordingly based on consensus and what the duties and obligations of their respective director is at that particular point in time. And I should note, as I shared earlier, each of these share one seat. So what that ultimately means is that that director seat will rotate from community to community. I think currently it's Medical Lake. When that person's term's up, it'll rotate to someone else. It could be Cheney, vice versa, Airway Heights, so on and so forth. And so this seeks to just reaffirm how we will operate within that context amongst ourselves. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Williams if he has, excuse me, Mr. Campbell, if he has additional thoughts or comments on it.
I don't think I have too much to add. I just like to just reiterate that previously there was no set policy other than the rotational seat. And so there was nothing codified that made it incumbent on the sitting vote member to really communicate with the other cities. And there was some discussion offline before this idea came to fruition about, well, the cities just need to communicate what their thoughts are. And as long as we have the information well in advance of the meetings, that can work. However, as we all know, during meetings, there's always discussion and new information comes up. And so I wanted to see a process where there would be, again, something codified that would give us a tool so that all the cities are equally represented. And we're not just occupying a seat on the board. So thank you, Mr. Tripp, for taking action on that.
And so council, the MOU you have before you, it represents a collection of everyone's feedback to date. All the communities are in agreement with the draft language you have here, and they're seeking to take action by their respective councils this month. And the council's requested to take action on this proposed MOU this evening.
All right, thank you, council. What would you like to do?
Mr. Campbell, I'd like to ask, is there, you're sitting on that board, is there enough information for us to move forward with this, or do we want to review this before we do anything about it?
But I think I think the MOU is pretty straightforward. They're actually, if we're successful in getting this coordinated with all the cities, STA board leadership, specifically the CEO, Mr. Otterstrom, has talked about incorporating this into their bylaws. They realized it was kind of a hole in the bylaws. It didn't really take this into account. So I would be pleased for us to move forward with it.
Thank you.
Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the MOU is intended to be more to fill that procedural gap with the smaller cities kind of rotating through that seat. Put consensus and get input. Other cities who would not be filling the seat at any particular app on.
That's very fair.
All right, with that, council, what would we like to do?
Move to approve.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Pick one. All right, no further questions or comments. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. All right, that'll move us into item B is actually going to be pushed back until after item 16 on the agenda. That'll move us into ordinance. Item C is going to be the second read of ordinance C-118, wastewater treatment load limits. That floor is yours too.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is ordinance C-1118, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending section 13.06A.0204 of the Airway Heights Municipal Code and other matters properly related thereto.
All right, Ms. Miller, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Council. So as a second reading, just want to make sure if there's any questions. As a quick recap, we are tied to the city of Spokane in terms of their wastewater requirements of the city of Airway Heights because they take current wastewater from areas within the city itself, as well as we have some future needs for some connections to their system. So this has been baked into the city's municipal code for a while under section 1306A. That we are to follow City of Spokane's local limits. They informed us last December that Ecology had given them updated local limits. So they turned to us to ask for our update as well. So the process is here tonight before you. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, and with this, it is the second read. So council, what would we like to do about ordinance C-1118?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? That passed unanimously. That moves on to a first read of ordinance C-119. And with this one, when will we see it back for a second read? Just 2 weeks from now? Okay. We'll talk about it the next study session as well. But Ms. Sant, the floor is yours to read it in the record.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. This is ordinance C-1119, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending section 12.12.060 of the Airway Heights Municipal Code and other matters properly related thereto.
The floor is yours again. At least I have it on there as you.
Yeah, it is me. Thank you, Council. So I did brief this at the last March 23rd study session. This is in relation to our great work the community has done in terms of the upgrades to our 10th Avenue and 6th Avenue roadways. We brought in a lot of outside dollars in order to build those projects. Some of the funding had the requirement to maintain and have a plan to maintain those roads. And when we looked at our current municipal code in 12-1206, 0, it currently reads as the responsibility of the adjacent property owners along our roadway system. So the changes that we went over at the last study session was just talking about focusing in and carving out those roads that the city of Airway Heights has built out and has that contractual relationship with our funding agencies to, of course, maintain what they have funded. So we put in language in there to clarify specifically 6th Avenue and 10th Avenue right now. And just to also clarify any other arterials that are built, because you do have a lot of arterials built by our development community. We're not talking about those roadway sections. Those would be still those adjacent property owners' responsibility to maintain, as well as clarifying a few other items, such as making sure that this is not just on arterials. This is on all of our roadway systems. Local roads are covered in this municipal code, as well as arterials. And I wanted to clarify for property owners, we are talking about the trees and the grass and those items, as well as drainage facilities like those grass swales that are currently their responsibility. We just didn't have kind of that clarifying language really to have folks understand what we mean by that maintenance responsibility. Any questions?
Your mic on?
It is.
Okay. It's harder to hear with the background noise.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll speak louder. Sorry.
All right, any questions or comments for Ms. Miller on ordinance C-1119? All right, well, we'll see it next week and then the week after on the second read. All right, that'll move us into item E is going to be the first read of ordinance 1-96 for the Salary Commission. Ms. Ant, the floor is yours.
This is ordinance C-1096, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, repealing and replacing chapter 2.24 of the Airway Heights Municipal Code, establishing an independent salary commission in order to set the salaries of elected officials, providing for the appointment and terms of salary commission members, and for the removal of the same, establishing effective dates for salary increases and decreases approved by the Salary Commission, subject to referendum, providing for severability and establishing an effective date and other matters properly related thereto.
All right, Ms. Tripp, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Chair, as you noted earlier, this is the first reading of an ordinance which would create a salary commission. As we discussed in the last week's study sessions, there's two ways by which salaries for elected officials may be adjusted or amended. The first is by ordinance, the second of which is by a salary commission. The council expressed an interest in looking at establishing a salary commission. Tonight represents the first reading of the ordinance that would do so. Since we last reviewed the draft ordinance this past week or 2 weeks ago in this last study session, the language has been changed and are updated in two different areas, specifically as it relates to the term of the salary commission members themselves. This current language reflects that they shall serve for a term of 3 years, but just noting that the initial members, their term will expire 12/31/28 if adopted by council. And then the latter change reflecting that the actual cycle for review pursuant to the language in the ordinance will be on an annual basis. With that being said, those are the only updates we've done so far. I'd ask the council if you have any additional updates or changes you'd like to see to it prior to it coming back for the second reading of the ordinance.
Do I have anything for Ms. Tripp?
Because I wasn't there. Is this commission, who is it made up of?
And so the commission would be made up of 5 community members. They have to be a registered voter, Spokane County, and within Airway Heights, and the council would select those 5 commission members. Once they're appointed, the current language has them starting their work, having their first meeting within 20 days. Their job would then to be able to do a salary survey of other elected officials and a similar operational profile as the city of Airway Heights. They would develop those comparable numbers and then go through a process to establish their findings as to whether or not the elected official salaries for Airway Heights should be adjusted, which could go either way, up or down. And then from that, they would publish that with the clerk treasurer. If it's up, that would go effective X number of days after that publication. If it's down, that would not take place until the incumbent reruns successfully for their position.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Yeah, Albert, I just wanted to ask, when did this, our current salary take effect? I just want to, just for my information, how old?
Great question. Bear with me a sec. I'm just going to look it up here real quick. Want to say it's been at least several years, but I want to give you an exact date.
Well, if I remember correctly, when Kevin Ritchie, when we decided to reduce the amount for the mayor,
Looks like
or it was 6 years ago. This year will be 6 years, correct? Yeah, but the actual city council themselves, it's been longer than 10 years.
So I see an ordinance change listed here on the municipal code for 2025. That must have been a minor change. And then the last one following that was 2016. I don't know that the one in 2025 was an actual change to the numbers.
Yeah.
So 2016 on the chair side, 2016 for the vice chair, and then it looks like 2009 for council members.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, I'm not seeing any for resolutions, for any TBD. At this time, is there anybody who's online or in presence here who would like to address council for any reason? All right, sir, if you'd like to do so, please step up and state your name, your address, and is it on?
Green light. Am I good? Okay.
Yeah.
My name is James Moore. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to speak tonight. I live at 1012 South Russell Street. The only interactions I've had with the city so far, I've been a complainer serially so far, and I'm not going to change tonight. So I'm just asking for the city to add a marked crosswalk on the east side of Sunset Park. So there's currently 4 streets that dead end onto Lawson.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't bring a map with me, but
No, it's okay. It's on the.
So the 4 corners of Sunset Park do have marked crosswalks. When the city changed, or not the city, the school decided to change the drop off to the east side from the west side this year, it's just added a bunch of additional traffic filtering through the entryway to the school, and that's where they're doing the drop off now. But there's no other alternatives other than 8th or 12th for people to do, for kids to crosswalk there. So the majority of them are going either on 9th or 10th and then jaywalking across the street during pickup times. So I'm just asking that when the city does remarking, if they add an additional crosswalk, and my suggestion would be 10th across to the park, because there's one lady now who's requires a motorized wheelchair with a small toddler. And so she's got the toddler strapped onto her, and I wish the citizens would just stop for her, but without a marked crosswalk, they not always very willing to stop and allow her to cross, or the kids to cross, or things like that. So
Okay.
that was it. That was my only thing tonight.
All right, Ms. Miller, can we look into that?
Thank you. I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. Thank you, sir, for coming up. All right, and then can we get a report back on that? Just in the next week or so, and then there was no sign up sheet, was there? So is there any way that we can get your name and contact information so that way we can reach back out to you? Okay. Yeah, if you could share his information, we'll get back to you. Absolutely, sir. All right, thank you. With that, there's no call for any workshops. I don't see anybody else online who had their hand raised or whatnot. That'll move us into executive session.
The purpose of the executive session will be to discuss performance of a public employee, discuss with legal counsel about current or potential litigation and discuss with legal counsel about the legal risks of current or proposed action. And it will be approximately, well, it'll be 1 hour. So it's till 7:15 is when I would recommend that we reconvene.
Okay, and then after that, we will come back into session
10B.
because,
Yes, for item 10B.
all right. Well, see everyone back in an hour.
Are we going to stay here? Are we going to stay here?
All right, and thank you guys for allowing us time to discuss some items within the executive session. We are coming out of the executive session at 7:31 PM. We did ask for more time from the 7:15. And with that, that'll take us back to action item B, which is going to be the 10th Avenue roadway ROW acquisition. And the floor is yours, Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Council. Yes, item number 10B. This is during the design process of the city's 10th Avenue project. Additional right-of-way was needed at the northeast corner of the intersection of 10th Avenue and Hayford. At the time, the city's consultant negotiated with Airway Heights LLC ownership to obtain the needed property. I'm recommending approval of the Airway Heights LLC payment for $22,449.09 for the right-of-way obtained for the 10th Avenue right-of-way project.
All right, thank you, Ms. Miller. Council, what would we like to do about item 10B for the 10th Avenue roadway ROW acquisition?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. All right, that'll bring us to adjournment at 7:32 PM. Thank you, everyone.